It's Fan Fiction Friday. Let's see what you cooked up. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Friday, June 12th, 2026. My name is Setting Gonzalez, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Colby Patnode. Great news, everyone. We don't have to talk about the last two games because it's Fan Fiction Friday, the show where you submit your Mariners trade ideas. We grade them on the 20/80 scale based on creativity, uniqueness, and of course, if they make sense for both clubs. Let's start here with this trade from Colin, who has a deal with the Cincinnati Reds. Spencer Steer is heading to the Mariners in this one for Teddy McGraw, Jared Sundstrom, and Michael Morales. And that just kind of feels like, hey, here's a bunch of stuff that I don't want.
It's not very tempting for the Reds, I would think. Spencer Steer is not a great player, but he is a solid major leaguer who happens to be destroying left-handed pitching this year. I think he's approaching a 200 WRC plus. I think it's 189, something like that. And he's usable against righties. I wouldn't say useful, but he's usable against righties. So there's not like he can only hit left-handed pitching. He doesn't really have a position in that. No matter where you put him, he kind of stinks there. So, though I think he was pretty good at first base last year. I don't know if that followed this year, but you're not really benching Josh Naylor all that often, are you? So, yeah, the Steer is an interesting player. Again, we've talked about him quite a bit over the years. And I do think that, if the Reds are willing to move, the player, which we don't know, they're kind of, struggling, but in the middle of a playoff race still. But again, if we assume that they're willing to sell Steer when the deadline comes around, it's going to cost more than this. So if you're trying to use the Randy trade and then like adjust it for negative inflation, because obviously Steer's not as good of a player as Randy was when you acquired him, same amount of club control, Randy's just better. I think you're still over or undershooting it, underselling it. I think you're probably looking more at something in the Mason Peters and Corbin Dickerson area to kind of facilitate a trade where obviously, Dickerson is the Aiden Smith and Brody Hopkins is played by Mason Peters in this trade. Although I do think that, I'd probably, I'm not sure where. It's tough to know where the Reds stand in their long-term outlook right now. So, yeah, it's not enough. Again, it's 3/4 for $1 to me, and I mean maybe not even 3/4. I think those three players are kind of 4A up and down types for most teams, and I like Teddy McGraw. I wish he could stay healthy, and it's nice to see him pitching out of the bullpen in the minors right now, and performing some, but I just don't think he's going to carry much value. Morales is, the ceiling of a number 5, and Sundstrom's maybe a 4th, 5th outfielder. I just don't think that's going to get it done for Spencer Steer. I think at this price, the Reds would just hold on to him and see if they can make a wild card push.
No, and none of those guys are helping their values this year either right now. Like McGraw has just gotten back on the field. I'm not sure if he has any trade value right now just because he hasn't been healthy at all during his pro career. Sundstrom right now has a 64 WRC plus in AA as a 24-year-old, and Michael Morales is in AA for the third consecutive season, and he's been terrible, frankly. So I'm not really sure if any of these guys really have any trade value to speak of at the moment, especially not to carry a deal for, a guy in Spencer Steer right now who, there's some issues against righties. He's a weak side platoon bat, most likely, but he's got a 112 WRC plus right now. He's got 2.5 years of club control. He's already hit 10 bombs. You're going to have to give up something real for Spencer Steer. And what you're giving up for Steer in this deal is not. It's not real. It's not even remotely close to what I think the Reds would actually be willing to listen to.
Yeah. Like the idea of Spear, and I think that the Randy trade is like a decent starting point if you adjust correctly
to work down Steer from.
I just think you overshot it going down. Like I think you think you're on the ground level and you needed to be on like level 3 of the hotel, so to speak. So yeah, I don't know, 30, 35. Like it just, you overshot it.
Yeah, I'm at a 30 on this one.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go over more of your trades in just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Cash App and Indeed. Being able to send someone money instantly. It's one of those things that's become so normal that you forget how much easier it makes everyday life. If you weren't up to speed already, Cash App is way more than just a safe way to send and receive money. With the Cash App card, you unlock a ton of perks without all the hidden fees. Enjoy benefits like exclusive early access to nationwide concert pre-sales, plus discounts on everyday purchases and popular brands you're probably already spending money on. Add your card to your digital wallet to make your money move easier. Cash App also adds security to your money by declining suspicious card transactions and sending you a notification to make sure the payment is really you. If your card is ever lost or stolen, you can lock it with just one tap right in the app. Spend with confidence with the Cash App card today. New Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use the promo code CashApp10 in their profile at sign up and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Workplace chaos can show up fast, and the problem is that finding the right candidate can take a lot more time than most businesses can afford. That's where Indeed Sponsored Jobs comes in. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach candidates who actually fit what you're looking for based on skills, experience, and location. In sports, some of the best moves organizations make aren't always the splashiest ones. Sometimes it's finding the person who fits exactly what the team needs at the right moment. That's what stood out to me here, and it's the same idea behind Indeed Sponsored Jobs, helping connect organizations with candidates who are the right fit from the start. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Don't forget to check out the Everydayer Club for ad-free episodes and access to a group chat with me and other listeners of this show. Tap the link in the description or go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com to learn more. Switch has a deal here with the Arizona Diamondbacks. It's Paul Sewald and Kevin Ginkel both heading to Seattle for Logan Evans, Charlie Bylinson, and Brock Rodden. All right, so this one's interesting because obviously Ginkel and Sewald are both rentals, so there's only so much that the Diamondbacks can ultimately ask for in the end here. But the Diamondbacks are also still in the mix, so not even sure if they would actually trade either or both of these guys. We'll see. You know, they are one of those teams that even if they're kind of a fence straddler, they might be willing to trade these guys, even if they feel like they could still compete for a playoff spot. That said, though, I kind of feel like they might be able to get better for these guys, especially if they're trading both of them in a package deal than a guy in Logan Evans who has really the ceiling of a number 4, number 5, who is currently recovering from Tommy John surgery. Because I feel like he's the headliner here. Like Charlie Bylinson having a good year, but he's a 26-year-old in Double-A. He's a 26-year-old reliever specifically in Double-A. Brock Rodden, nice player. Would love to see him at the major league level with the Mariners at some point this year, but I'm not necessarily sure he's the headliner here either. It does feel like a lot of this hinges upon how the Diamondbacks feel about Evans, and I don't know, just Evans, all due respect to the guy, he just doesn't really feel like the type of profile the Diamondbacks or really any team would be like, yeah, we're willing to wait on him and you know, oversee his return from Tommy John and his recovery and his rehab and all that. Like, we're willing to trade these two, you know, fairly valuable pieces for that.
Yeah, I just think at this price, you know, and where they are right now, the Diamondbacks would probably be like just keep them and take a shot. I think now that we fast forward, 5 weeks and the Diamondbacks are 7 games under 500, and then like, okay, yeah, then we can have a little bit more of leeway here. But I think, just judging the team as it sits right now, you're probably going to have to convince them that it's still worth selling, and maybe convince them that, yeah, they're selling these 2 pieces, but they're getting pieces that could actually help them this year. If everything breaks right, and they kind of become this year's version of the Guardians, right, where they just kind of sell, but they still go on this big win streak. And Bylinson could be that guy because he could help them out of the bullpen. But it's that piece, that first piece, like you said, and I'm just kind of trying to think of who is that piece that would entice the Diamondbacks to trade these 2 guys instead of just keep them and see if they can. Because I don't think the Diamondbacks are going to be sad if they don't make this trade and they're like, oh man, we could have had Bylinson and Rod. And like, I don't think that's the case. And I think that type of player is probably maybe Corbin Dickerson or Mason Peters as kind of a headliner here. And at that point, if you're Seattle, it's like, why don't we just call it Brock Moore and Charlie Bylinson if we want 2 mid-leverage relievers and give those guys a shot. So there's just a lot of unknown right now, which is obviously it's June 12th. But I do think you need a better headliner here, but I'm just not quite sure who that is, because I don't know if I want to trade, Mason Peters for a couple of, mid-high leverage guys, as much as I love Paul Sewald. So yeah, I'm a little bit not sure. It would have to be a deal where like, you're kind of giving up bulk. And again, to be fair, Seattle and Arizona have had a lot of trade talks over the last calendar year. And the Mariners did acquire 2 rentals from them just last year. And so they kind of understand. And we know that how this works is, the Diamondbacks say, hey, we want this guy and this guy. And the Mariners like, no, this is what we're willing to do. This is what we're willing to do. And then last year it was Locklear and Garcia. And those 2 guys as headliners played for the Diamondbacks last year. Like they contributed to the time, not well, but they played for them. And so I think that's probably what the Diamondbacks would be looking for is a couple of guys who could help them at the major league level this year, right away. And I just don't think that they're going to view Rodden as that guy. And obviously Evan physically can't do that. So it's tough to say. I think this is a 50 though. I don't think you're too far off. Like,
like Bylinson and Rodden would play for them in 2026. It would be a similar idea to what you were just talking about, but yeah, I just don't know if it moves the needle enough for them. And
I think
I would absolutely trade Mason Peters or Corbin Dickerson in this deal for both of these guys. If I can get both of them, absolutely.
I wouldn't be upset. Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, like plus like Ginkel's striking out guys, Sewald striking out guys. I need more strikeouts in this bullpen.
Yeah.
And obviously you're pulling on my heartstrings here a little bit with Paul as well. So like, got to acknowledge that.
Yeah, but like Mason Peters is cooler than Paul Sewald, probably.
But yeah, I'm trying to win a World Series right now, and I think like Kevin Ginkel and Paul Sewald would absolutely very much help me.
You want to trade 1 World Series appearance for 5 in a row when Mason Peters is the number 5 starter for this team and he's still getting Cy Young votes?
You should have done that interview, not me. Okay. I think that's what we're finding out. I think you should have had the one-on-one interview.
I mean, it'd be a lot like Shorzy and Laura Moore. I don't know if we get anything done, but if you understand that reference, you're probably cool. But yeah, it's I wouldn't hate it. But I do think that this trade package that you've put out probably gets you one of them. It's probably Sewald, if I had to guess. And again, and that's assuming that the Diamondbacks are more out of it now than they are, or more out of it then than they are now. Right. Not that much more though.
Yeah, I'd say this is still like in the 50 range.
Yeah, I'll go 50.
Distraught has a deal here with the Boston Red Sox where the Mariners get high leverage reliever Garrett Whitlock for Lazaro Montes. Okay. Teddy McGraw. And Rob Refsnyder.
Salary swap, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. So this week on my Substack, I put out a rare article and a trade deadline plan 1.0, so to speak.
Mhm.
And Garrett Whitlock was in it. I really like the idea of Garrett Whitlock. I've mentioned him to Ty once or twice. Again, the Red Sox, they almost certainly have to be selling. Like, that's not getting any better. They've already fired their manager. They're in last place. They're 13 games under 500.
They're a game or two better than the worst team in baseball right now. Like, they're that bad.
Yeah. So, barring a heck of a turnaround over the next month, they're going to be selling. Now, they're going to trade Chapman. So, do they want to trade Garrett Whitlock? Probably not, is the thing. And Whitlock is under club control for 3 more pennant chases. You get him for this year, and then he has back-to-back team options that are very friendly for the 27 and 28 season. And honestly, it's very similar to Munoz in his contract situation. Would you trade Munoz? I mean, this is probably a bad time to ask this, but would you trade Munoz for Las Montes? Some of you might, but the answer is no. In reality, no, you wouldn't, because you can get more for him than that. Whitlock is the guy that I look at and I say, this is basically their second shot at Duran. The Mariners thought they had a deal in place to get him last. Like, they were convinced they were getting him. And then kind of at the last minute, the Phillies swooped in and made a better offer, and the Mariners couldn't do it. And so could they go back to that well again? Could they try and get, the 2+ years of club control of, a daddy reliever that they desperately need right now, especially since you have to assume Brash probably isn't going to throw a pitch for you this year. At the very least, it's going to be, a month to 2 without Brash. They need that reliever anyways. Could they do it this year? Yeah, I think they could, but I do think that Duran is kind of the price point for Whitlock, and that's 2 top 100 prospects, and ideally one of them has made their major league debut, like Mick Abel. So I think that's where you start. Now, in my deal, I also had Romy Gonzalez in it, but I had Arroyo and Stevenson. Stevenson, I think, is going to be very highly valued in trade talks this summer. He is a catcher, almost. I mean, he's nearing major league readiness. He's a plus defender with plus power, and is showing a little bit of hit tool, drawing walks and all that. I think he's going to be much more valuable in trade talks than the general consensus of his draft profile or his prospect rankings would suggest. But again, I think, you have to be open to get Whitlock. You have to be open to trading 2 of your top 100 types. And I think that means you have to be open to trading Laz. You have to be open to trading Farmelo, Arroyo, Stevenson, Fellman. I think you have to be open to trading 2 of those guys to get Whitlock. And it's probably worth it, if we're being honest. Now, kind of have to trust the Mariners to pick the right 2. They've been very good at picking the right guys to trade and the right guys to hang on to. As for the trade here from Distraught, I think you're 1 top 100 prospect short. Like, why, if you're the Red Sox, why would you take less for Whitlock than the Phillies took for Duran? Same club control. Duran's a little better, but Whitlock has a longer track record. So, that kind of evens out. I don't see it. I don't see them taking significantly less, and that's what this would be. This is significantly less for Whitlock than it would be for Duran. So I think you need to add a top 100 prospect in there.
Yep. You got a good first piece here, and Montes, who should probably be like the second piece. But you're going to need someone else on top of him, someone of great significance here on top of him as well to push this across the finish line. All right, we'll go over more of your trades in just a moment, but first a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by KALSHI and Hems. Baseball season is here, and now you can trade every game on KALSHI. Tonight, Seattle is trading at 57% to beat Washington, which means a $100 trade pays out $170 if they win. On KALSHI, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the KALSHI app and use the promo code LOCKEDON, that's LOCKEDON, to get $10 when you trade 10. KALSHI, KALSHI, trade on anything. 18 plus only. Restrictions and eligibility requirements apply. Event contract trading involves risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. You know, ED is way more common than most guys think. Millions of guys deal with it at some point, and that's exactly why HIMS offers a straightforward way to handle it. HIMS connects you with licensed healthcare providers online, giving you access to legitimate ED treatment options from the comfort of your home. No awkward appointments, no pharmacy lines, just a straightforward process that makes it easier to take care of yourself. They also offer options like sildenafil, the generic for Viagra, at a fraction of the cost, plus other treatments so you can find what works best for you. It's straightforward, transparent, and designed to make getting care feel easy. To get simple online access to personalized, affordable care for ED, hair loss, weight loss, and more, visit hims.com/lockedonmlb. That's hims.com/lockedonmlb for your free online visit. hims.com/lockedonmlb. Prescription required. See website for details and important safety information. Sildenafil is a generic version of Viagra. Viagra is a registered trademark of Viatris Specialty LLC. HIMS is not affiliated with or endorsed by Viatris. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone, and on there we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. Jeff has a deal here with the Chicago Cubs, where the Cubs send Javier Assad, Caleb Wing, and Pedro Ramirez to the Mariners for one Mr. George Kirby.
This doesn't seem like enough for George Kirby for me.
No. I mean, Wing is off to a good start in his career, but it hasn't even been a year yet since he was drafted, and he was a 4th-round pick. So how much value does he ultimately hold? I don't know. Pedro Ramirez, one of the better infield prospects in baseball, and he's major league ready. Okay, that's cool. Javier Assad is whatever.
Yeah. Just throwing.
I think I can do better for George Kirby, for 2.5 years of George Kirby than this, even with some of the struggles that he's had over his last 5 or so starts.
Right. Plus, I mean, we really gonna do the whole thing where it's like, oh, Pedro Ramirez plays third and Colt Emerson plays short, and we just DFA JP Crawford. Like, it's not happening, guys. It's like they're not trading JP Crawford. They're not benching JP Crawford. So where does Ramirez even play this year? Like, you can just sit him in AAA and wait for JP to go away? I don't see it. So, yeah, I think you can do better than this. I really do wish Jonathan Long had an easier fit with the Mariners, because I really like that bat. But he's first base only, really, and obviously you're saddled up there. So yeah, I think you can get more than this. You're getting, still, even with Kirby struggles, you're getting 2.5 years of a number 3 starter who's been very durable in his career, and there's still probably more to get. At least a lot of teams would probably think there's still more in the tank. They have the right tweak to get Kirby where we know he can be, because he's been a number 2 or better for pretty decent stretches of his career. So I just think I can get more than this. I would want at least 2 top 100 prospects, and probably somebody who helps me at the major league level right now, like a really good reliever, before I'd even consider trading George Kirby or Tarek Skubal. Yeah, one of those things. Yeah. But
sure.
Yeah, I think if we assume the Mariners, because I don't want to be like, the Mariners aren't selling, you get a 20. If we just assume that they're open to trading a starter this summer, right? If we just give you that, I still think this is like a 40, maybe even a 35.
Yeah, this would be incredibly underwhelming if this is what the Mariners got for George Kirby. So, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm underrating Caleb Wing a little bit. I know that again, like I said earlier, I know that he's had a really good start to his pro career, but Yeah, I don't know. Just one kind of fringe top 100 prospect for George Kirby feels cheap.
Do the Tigers like do the Tigers like Ramirez or Wing? Because am I flipping them to
Sure.
get Tarek Skubal? Then okay, we can have a conversation. But the AL is so bad. The Tigers are actually playing pretty good ball now that they might not even trade Tarek Skubal. So whatever.
I mean,
But even if we take the leaps that we need to take to make this like a viable conversation, I still think you're short selling George Kirby.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 30 on this one.
Okay.
All right, last trade of the day comes from Sohn. He has a deal with the Padres, and it's a doozy. Mason Miller to the Mariners for George Kirby and Luke Stevenson.
I mean, it's an elite closer.
Speechless.
The Padres have a very deep bullpen. They don't have starting pitching. What they do have is pretty injured. I think the club control, I think Miller's got one more year of club control, but also George is going to throw more innings in his 2 years than Miller will throw in the next, 5, even though you only have him for 3 more years. Miller's also going to get incredibly expensive via ARB if that is part of the new CBA. Again, caveats there. So it's like, would you trade like a all-star caliber starter for 2 years for an elite, like the best closer in baseball for 3 years based on where the Mariners are right now? Like ordinarily, no. But when you factor in the Mariners have 6 starters right now, Kate Anderson's, basically ready to go. Ryan Sloan's probably not that far behind. Maybe. Luke Stevenson feels like a bit overkill, but I guess. I don't know. I just thought this was your first thought is like no, and then you're just kind of like.
Did you know by F4 that Mason Miller has been more valuable than George Kirby this year?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Of course he has. He's running like a 55% strikeout rate, and George Kirby's kind of been mediocre. So yeah, of course he does.
Yeah.
But again, it's 180 innings versus 51%
K rate is crazy.
Imagine if he finishes the year at 54% and he's on the Mariners when he does it.
I don't even.
Who says no, Ty?
Like, part of me wants to say the Padres would actually say no.
But you're going to get 100. You're going to get 200 innings max from Miller. You're going to get 200 innings from Kirby in year 1.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And I mean, at some point, they're probably going to trade Mason Miller.
Probably.
But also, like, Kirby's starting to make money. So how does that impact things with the Padres? Because obviously there's, the whole stuff that's
Miller's going to make a ton in arbitration as well.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Don't
forget, they're also getting Stevenson in this deal.
This one's interesting.
And the Padres they have Ethan Salas, so maybe they don't want a catcher.
Yeah.
But if it's what if it's like Michael Arroyo?
Sure. Yeah. Like, I think there's like a couple of guys that are kind of interchangeable in that range.
Yeah. Feldman.
It's not.
This is 60.
You can see the gears turning in my head.
Yeah, you're like no, but also, but no. It's that gift, right?
Yeah. Like it feels wrong.
But when you logic it out from both sides,
you're
like,
it's just like when you see it though, when you see it written out, like just
it looks wrong.
Like it just looks wrong. It looks like no way. No, that's
the more you think about it.
Yeah.
This is at least a 60 because we don't really know how to react to it. And not because it's stupid. Like there are two kind of there's one that's so stupid that we don't even put them on the show. like that's how stupid they are. We send them to each other and laugh. So if you're on the show and you have us sitting here going like, Maybe. Yeah. I mean, that's like, that's at least a 60.
I'm debating now.
I think you need to talk to Javi about this and see what he thinks.
I'm debating now how crazy I want to get with the
Ty's thinking about throwing an 80 on this. That's how much he likes this trade.
I don't know about an 80. I don't know about the first 80 in Fan Fiction Friday history. I don't know if this is that yet.
I mean, are we ever going to have an 80?
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point.
If this isn't an 80, we're never going to have one.
All right, you give it an 80 then. You first.
No, I don't think this is an 80. I think this is a 60. To me, like an 80 is like, not only can we see it happening, it's something that we never thought of, and we could do like a whole show on it just on that one trade on a Fan Fiction Friday.
Yeah. I'm going to go 70. I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
That might be the highest graded trade in the history of
I think it is.
Fiction Friday.
I think it is. I think it is.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And once again, if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everyday Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok as well at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.